Hello, everybody. We're going to, like always, give it a couple of minutes. So we'll give it some time. You're looking at Britoni's lovely setting in Denver, North Carolina, which I learned is near Charlotte. And Victor, I'm not sure where you are, Victor.
Toronto.
I'm in Toronto.
Toronto. So Victor's in Toronto, and Josh in Denver, and Robert hiding out in Clemson. So, and we're in Osceola, Georgia, metropolis, biggest city of all of them.
We're all over the place. Dylan, Susan, you guys are golfers. Have they opened up the golf courses down there? I noticed they were open in Denver this weekend.
Yeah, in Georgia, golf never closed. It was an essential, but you had to do one person per golf cart, and you had to, clean the carts and not touch the flagpoles and all that. But Dill and I, in anticipation, in anticipation of the golf courses shutting down, the horse pasture is now half the Sunshine 230-yard short par 4 or long par 3 golf. But you can't cut on it.
Putting green, it's going to take I'm going to have to sell some chair stock to get a putting green, but the fairway's starting to come in really nice. By a year from now, that fairway will be as nice as Augusta National.
And the good news is we have one quarter horse and one miniature horse left. Our quarter horse is probably about 35 years old now. They have not pooped on the golf course yet, so we're doing okay.
Good. One more obstacle.
That's just a hazard.
You want to get started?
Yeah, let's go ahead and get started. Looks like we're filling up the room quite nicely. So let me go ahead and do a little housekeeping for today. So hello, everybody. Welcome back to this week's Intrepid Spirits Huddle. Glad to have everybody on board. We got a couple great guests today. We've got Victor Cook joining us from IMI International, here to talk a little bit about some of the research they've been doing around the COVID-19 virus and how it's affecting the sports industry, events industry, and everything else out in the world. We also have Britoni Burdett, who many of you know, will be joining us to discuss a new project that she has just launched as it relates to the COVID-19 pandemic as well. So before we get into that, let's cover a few things very quickly. If there are any questions, comments, or thoughts, please send those over to hello@resourcedepartment.co. Happy to hear everybody's thoughts and make this a little bit better, more efficient, and cleaner for you every week. If you know anybody else that would like to join in the weeks ahead, please do send them the invite. This is open to everybody, not just those of you who had an original invite. We also have a Facebook group on McWhorter Driscoll, so please go over there to find the link of today's broadcast, as well as broadcasts from the past. You can see those, and we'll be sharing all kinds of other things there. If you'd like to connect directly with anybody else here in the attendee list, that is where to do it. So with that said, I'd like to turn over to Dill and Susan for the thought of the day. Dill and Susan.
Here you go. Hey, welcome back, team. Hope everybody's running positive attitudes, and we're growing as terrific human beings as we go through this. The sea is dangerous, its storms are terrible, but these have never been sufficient reasons to remain ashore. Unlike timid souls, intrepid spirits seek victory over those things that seem impossible. It is with an iron will that they embark on the most daring of all adventures. You could say to come out of this virus, to meet the shadowy future without fear and conquer the unknown. Intrepid spirits. I'd like to just start. I had a tear in my eye, and I know there's some people I believe on this call from Canada. Well, Victor's up there in Toronto. We got to do the 2010 Torch Relay, as you know, and made a tremendous amount of friends in that country. And I just absolutely shocked with what happened the other night. And let you all know that we're praying for the people up there and the entire country. That said, I'm going to move on. There were some comments that Josh and Robert passed on that said that you wanted more Dillisms instead of me quoting, Roosevelt or whoever. So today I'm going to give you a couple. The most important one being poise. And poise is an attitude of confidence, which comes from complete honesty, a belief what you're doing is good for you and the customer, complete trust and admission. And as the old general would say, if we were at an event, you know, our mission right now is to keep your team healthy and positive. And that's a sincere plea from me that I say, just do it. You know, and I woke up this morning, I was working out and I got in a pissy mood for 2 seconds. And next thing I knew, I was like, sunshine's like, Jill. And I go, hold it, get back to the office. Let me, you know, first of all, don't watch the freaking too much of the news. That was the problem. But anyway, so let's just stay positive, and I know we all can do it. And Sunshine, I'm tossing it to you. It's all yours now to keep it going.
Well, great. So Jill hit on, so everybody's present. Let's make sure we're all present.
Yeah.
Our ears in tune to, and what we're going to hear today, I think some pretty great stuff to help us from an industry perspective, but then also from a personal perspective. It was interesting this morning as Jill and I were coming to the office in Ocala, Father John, who's our priest in Lake Placid, gave us a call, and he shared with us a little tidbit that was interesting.
Oh, this is crazy.
He said, did you know that there was a saint for pandemics? And
a patron saint.
A patron saint. And we're like, no, we didn't. And who would guess what the name of this saint is? Saint Corona. So something to Google and look up and see if you can learn more about Saint Corona. All right, so positive human energy this week. And then also, I think one thing for us to be thinking about is how do we continue as we transition back into life? How do we continue to have the compassion and be free of judgment and to continue some of these really, really nice human attributes that have been coming out of people? How do we make sure we continue those and be a shining light to continue those? And I think we got to think about it now of how we're going to do that as we just, before we know it, we're back into life and everything's crazy and no more family dinners and no more being nice to our neighbors. And especially for us in the US with the election coming up, we're going to get a lot of polarization and anger. And so let's be starting to think about and putting plans together of how we keep this positive energy going as life may get somewhat back to normal. So with that, we've got Victor Cook, who's going to share with us. And, you know, it's pretty fun through the years of Ignition. I'll have people come up to me and say, oh, Susan, I was an igniter. And I'm like, great. But we would hire about 2,500 people a year. And then, of course, with all of our different vendors. But I think some of you igniters probably know Victor from working on the Olympics with some of the research that they did. But Victor is the Director of Client Solutions for IMI International. And they really, and Victor, you can probably describe a little bit better, but a marketing research and understanding return on investment. I know in the experiential space, there's always been the question, quite frankly, in the advertising space, the question of, am I getting a return on my investment? And Victor, we shared ahead of time with you some of their research, but I think he's going to give us some highlights, Victor, of what you guys have learned and how people are thinking and how that may help us as marketers or brand people, experiential marketers, whatever it is we do, on how that can help us going forward. So Victor, over to you.
Much appreciated for the introduction. And yes, indeed, have likely and probably chatted to a few of the folks that are on the call today, Josh included. I will say over the years working on the torch relay and the different locations, whether it's Brazil or London or Vancouver, and sadly not Japan this year, but hopefully next year. It has been an unbelievable experience. The one thing that we do know, hands down, and anybody who's worked in the industry knows, experiential, putting a product in someone's hand, there's nothing that works better, period. It's the best thing that we've ever done. It's the best thing we've ever measured. It's the best advertising you can ever do. That said, there's a cost, and we do a little bit of that. So it's one thing we've been doing actually as a company since '88 in the Calgary Olympics. So there's always been an Olympic tie-in for us. But going forward, and that's the different type of stuff that we do. So ever since this thing's gotten started, we've been, looking at and thinking, yeah, you got to really understand how people are feeling, and it's a scary time right now. Lots going on and lots of different things. So we've been reaching out to customers and consumers around the globe just to see how they feel, and we put together a report. Got a few things to share. Have one hot off the press here, so just give me a sec here. I believe I have to. I'll share my screen with you guys. But first, I wanted to share a little bit of, and this is literally came out today. Can everybody see that?
We got it.
Okay, perfect. This is something that's actually changed, and it's concern for personal health. So this is not experiential, but it is for the first time since we've actually started seeing this, we've seen numbers go down. Now, these are still really big numbers, whether you're looking the US, Canada, all through South America. They're still concerned. I mean, it's a pandemic. This is not something that should be surprising, but for the first time, we've actually started to see numbers come down. So people are understanding what's going on. They can see it, but I think people are starting to actually grasp the issues, what's going on, what's being done, what the government is doing, what your governors are doing, what your premiers, depending on what region you are, and they're getting it. We're still concerned, but that level of concern is starting to come down, which is a great thing. Now, when all this ends is, of course, a little bit of a question that everybody wants to know. And that's something that's shifting a little bit, and it takes time, and it takes time around the globe. But for most of us here, we throw it out to folks, and they say roughly somewhere at about October, they believe that this is going to be not a concern. Now, we leave it up to them as to what not a concern means, but we're looking for that sort of bigger, broader picture of when it's not as core and as big as it is right now. So we're looking at October. Now, this always floats. A month ago it was September, and I suspect as we move forward, these are all dates that are going to change and they're going to move. So when we had done this, the one thing that we wanted to understand was looking at, and given the crowd that we're speaking to here, what does this do for sports, for concerts, for festivals, for live events? We all work in it. We all love it. We know what that impact is, and we know what that looks like. Well, as we do this and we move forward, folks, they really want social. There is something about an event. There's something that we want to do. And that void of that face-to-face connection goes across all countries. It doesn't change. I mean, what do the people most want to do? You want to go meet with friends and family. I'll give you a very personal story here, but literally on Easter dinner had a Zoom call with my father-in-law, and it was the first time that we'd actually been able to get together. He's a little bit older, but it was one that you don't realize until you get that connection how much you miss it. So it's tough, but it's something that we have to do. But that base emotion of going out with friends and family, going out to dinner, being able to go outside, being able to get together with friends, that's what people want. But they still want to be able to, they want to go out to the movies, they want to go out to the clubs, they want to go to concerts and festivals. These are all things people want to do. They want to be able to play sports. Like, they want to be able to get out and do these things. People they're craving it. And it's a little bit different depending on what the groups are, not really a shock if we look at Gen Zs and millennials, the younger guys, they want to watch sports with their friends and family. They want to do it. A little different for guys. We're a little, not to be stereotypical, but that's something we want to do. Whereas the Gen X and boomers, that's not quite as important. That said, those Gen X and boomers, they want to go out to dinner. They want to be able to go to a restaurant. We all want to be able to get out. I think we all want to be able to leave our houses and get back to some kind of normality. It's something that we're going to be looking forward to, and it's something that I think as brands are going to be able to look forward and help enhance that experience for people. So that's something that we can help to contribute. So we wanted to know overall, well, when this is all said and done, we talk about large events. Dale, you guys are in Georgia. I've heard a little bit of a rumor that they like football down there. Well, that's a pretty big event, and we have everything there. Well, when we look around the globe, the nations that are in that early stages, there's a little bit of hesitation about the bigger, going to bigger events when it's done. But the areas where it's been, so if we look at Australia, if we look at Italy, and Italy's sort of the benchmark that we look at, you know, we look at a net increase of 11 and 24% of a lot or increase a little. They want to, they're itching. You get locked up in your house, you're isolated. This is what you're surrounded with. That ability to be able to go to these things is something that we're really going to look forward to coming out of this. It's going to be something that's going to bring some excitement. And I think it's going to be something that there is for folks to be able to re-engage with. Almost unanimously, there's a pent-up demand for live sport on TV. And I think this coming weekend, for example, we talk about the NFL draft. A little bit of controversy for those in North America, whether to go forward with it or not. Some are saying it's not right, but people need it. They want it. They want something. They want a sense of normality. It's something that we can see. And it's not country specific. It goes across the globe, no matter where we're looking. The Italians, if you look at a 40% net and 50, they want their football. They want to look at their La Liga. They want their soccer. They want it back. They want to be able to see it. So on a broadcast base and for their advertising, there's some real potential there. So we think about this and how does that lead to streaming? Well, if we look across multiple countries, the digital platforms, there's going to be a significant surge in online sports streaming and the opportunities that are going to come with it. And it's something that we're going to have to think about and how we deal with that and opportunities that come with that. So when we think about experiential and we think about activation and brand activation, you know, there's one thing to putting a product in hand and physically being able to do that, but brands and agencies out there are also going to figure out how can we engage with that consumer online? How can we create that virtual experience? How can we bring something forward to our folks there that's going to give them that one-on-one, that's going to give them something that they can do and they can bring forward. And then on a more simple base, buying merchandise, you know, it's going to be in high demand. People are waiting for it. They haven't been able to do it, but they're going to look forward to it when they get the chance. So just a few minutes from me on this. I won't take too much more of your time. We actually have, and just so I can go back to it, we will have another report coming out this week for you guys that you're going to be able to see and delves a lot more into that. So I'll share that with everyone as soon as possible. And, you know, any questions or anything that you guys have. But I think longer term, this does point to, from a brand and for all of us that work in this space, people are itching to get back. They want that interaction. They're going to look forward to it. You can't wait to go to their next football game, their next hockey game, to go be able to watch their kids play lacrosse and be able to do that sport. That connection that brings us all together on that experiential space, it hasn't gone. We just put it in our houses and isolated it for a while. And it's something that when this comes out, people are going to want it more than ever. And I think it really presents an opportunity for the business and businesses out there to be able to do that.
Great. Thanks, Victor.
And that was terrific. Thank you.
And we will put the research. They've done 3 waves, I think, right, Victor? And those reports, I'm sure you can get them on your website. We also are putting on the McWhirter-Driscoll website. So we'll make sure that you have access to his information. And I'm sure Victor's open to have conversations with you if you like.
And we'll send out, like I said, we have a huge report coming out this week. I haven't actually seen it. I'm so excited by it. Just given the first one that came out today, to see something positive coming through and people actually like, okay, it's almost like there's a light at that end of that tunnel. I'm very excited for it. So look forward to sending that out to everyone.
Great.
All right, so everybody, as always, if you have questions, be sending those to Josh, and we'll cover those for both Victor and Britoni as we get toward the end. So now Britoni. Britoni is one of our igniters forever that's always had this wonderful smile and energy and positivity. So it makes total sense that she's doing what she's doing right now. In fact, over the weekend, I did my love sale. I haven't done all the posting of stuff. I got to listen to Britoni to tell me how to do it. But Britoni, it's all yours.
Thank you. Thank you guys so much for having me. It's so fun to have all the igniters back together. Like family's all back. So I'm Britoni Burdett. I worked at Ignition long time ago. So one night, or when I first saw the COVID-19, like the actual cell, the virus cell, I envisioned it with having like little hearts at the end of all the tentacles. And one night I couldn't sleep, and I was like, I just felt being called to like go get my sketch pad and draw it. And then when I shared it with some friends, they were all like, "This is huge!" Like, you know, and encouraged me to kind of make it into something. So we named it. It's the new and improved love infused virus. It's called Love Cell 20, like dash 20, kind of similar to COVID-19. And then we created a Facebook page, website, and Instagram page called The Love Cell. And then when anybody so what you can do is go onto our website and download the template. And when you color it in, and it's called My Love Cell. So then you're encouraged to share your colored love cell, and you sign it at the bottom, the artist's name, and then dedicate it to a person or place of your choosing. And then we're encouraging people to send them to hospitals, first responders like police, fire stations, senior living homes, and essential businesses. So the idea for me is I would really like to see it grow into something much bigger. So we're offering the Love Cell template for free. The design I've registered it as a copyright, but I would really like it to become like a licensed design on products. So when I'm thinking like corporate level, that's where from a marketing standpoint, I would love to like brainstorm with you guys to figure out like how can we grow it and make it bigger, right? So then it becomes a worldwide brand, but it's also, so the tagline is uniting the world one love cell at a time. This is my love cell. I painted it on a canvas. So that's kind of the idea and why I wanted to present it to all you guys. One, so that you can color in all your love cells, but also to really grow the brand to make it into like the next pink ribbon, eventually.
Very cool thing. So,
one idea I do have, and I'm working with some artists all over the world, I'd like to have it painted on the side of buildings and on windows and things like that. So that's one like guerrilla marketing way that I think I can, that we could get some traction with media, which I think would be cool.
Great. Awesome. So everybody go check out the website's what, Britoni?
thelovecell.com.
thelovecell.com. Go check it out. And it's great, I think, for education, for children, for adults. I had fun putting my puzzle together and doing my love cell yesterday. And I've actually dedicated mine to Jarrett McCorder, my niece, who is working in the hospitals now in the front lines. So we'll hopefully get some social sharing going on with that and stuff. So Josh, you want to lead into the Q&As?
Yeah, definitely. So just looking at some questions out there, some comments coming in. So thank you both to Vic and Britoni. Great info. All of this will be shared. Vic's presentation, information about where to find the Love Cell, all on the Facebook group. So please head there and you can download and upload and everything else. The recording for this week as well as past weeks will also be there. So looking at some of the questions are mostly around where we can find this information. Wondering if the recording and other sessions will be available. Yes. So yes, we have all of that. Open up here for anybody else to comment, any questions. I know there's a lot of attendees that are in the event sports sponsorship marketing industries. So if there's any questions that you guys may have specifically to Vic or more about what Britoni's doing, please raise your hand and we'll unmute you. Big question I had, and I know Vic, if you're still on the line, is there anything specific that you guys are targeting for the event and sports world coming up in the next report that we may, almost as a little teaser? So are you guys focusing the report on this industry, or is this just overwhelming? How are we dealing with COVID?
We're actually doing both. So we have the broader COVID, when does it end? How are people feeling, their health and different concerns there. But we're also delving into like sponsorship, experiential, what it looks like, and different things as far as when people think that they're going to be able to go back to, for example, go to a bar, go to a concert, be able to play sports. So we're looking, we're going to have a pretty broad section on that and what it looks like.
Great.
And so we are going to have both for you guys.
Yeah, because Victor, with that, it's like, people may be allowed back to some of these things, right? But when are they going to want to go back?
Right.
And is there going to be a difference between the different age groups of when they're going to want to go do these things? Because I think that's going to be kind of the big question is, okay, I think people open up around the world, are people actually going to want to go do it? And what's going to be needed to be done to give them the comfort that they can go do it, like go sit in a restaurant or go, go to a big sporting event.
Yep, and that's something that we're looking at, and I think it's going to differ. I mean, my expectation, I haven't seen the results, but it's going to differ by people. I can tell you, I have a teenage son at home, and he's immortal. I mean, nothing could happen to him, And our parents are in their 70s, and they're very, very aware of their mortality. But it's going to differ by different groups, and I think by different regions. And the other thing that will come into play is, and we see this with, like I said, with the Italian sort of being the benchmark, will be the longer that you've been sort of isolated or forced to self-isolate, the more keen you are going to be able to go back. Now, it will be interesting because I know we're doing things, we're asking some questions like having hand sanitizers, or should we have menus at restaurants, or should there be just it's verbal and you sort of pick and you don't touch anymore. So we'll be touching on a there's way more questions than we can actually answer, but we try to get to most of them.
But I think that'll be pretty interesting because, you did bring up the thing of, do you do menus? Do you, what are the people and maybe ranking for a consumer, for a retailer, for restaurants, somehow coming up with rankings of what are the big nuggets that are going to be the most critical to give people comfort or not. So we look forward to that. I think that's going to be pretty interesting. Jill, why don't you kind of share some thoughts, and then we'll see if I know we have Jennifer Jordan has the dedication for us, and then we'll see if there are any other what made you happy. So please send some things to Josh. We got to get you guys more interactive. Yeah. We're igniters. Come on, show me.
So next week, what we're going to do is we're going to paint a picture of the world coming out of this rough patch, the new normal, and there's certain of you people on the phones out there. There's one guy in Italy, I think, this British guy I'll be reaching out to. There's a bunch of you all that I want to reach out to and get your take on it. But over the years, I've been blessed to sort of see stuff that, maybe some others didn't. And a lot of that stuff is still going on, which from a marketing perspective. But I encourage you to send information to us, and to Josh. There's all sorts of spots now to find it. And one thing I'm going to start to do, I believe this week, is on Wednesdays and Fridays, I'm going to come up with a little Dill 2-minute, minute and a half, pump you up and put it on the McCorder Disc website, just to sort of say, hey, let's make it more than once a week. You can just look at it if you care to. With that, I have one more piece. I guess I should do this first, and then we'll turn it over to Jennifer. And that is another one that's pretty important that I always, probably 25 years before I said it's a great day or make it a great day, I always said stay low, keep moving. And everybody said, well, where did that come from, Dill? And I said, well, I don't know for sure, but legend has it, it came from soldiers in Vietnam, laying on their bellies, crawling through the swamps and that stuff. I probably need to check up with Coleman and some other guys to see if that's true, but it's absolutely perfect for today and what we're doing. I mean, stay low, keep moving, right? It's like, let's not, have pity parties and all that kind of crazy stuff, but just let's be positive human energy. And that's the
Mask
name.
on, keep moving.
Stay low, keep moving. I'll turn it over to Jennifer for the dedication, and then we'll have the hip. Josh, why don't you lead us in the hip hip hooray this time?
Thanks, Dill. So I've tried to do this for 3 weeks, but we finally got this all to work. So my dedication / shout out is to anyone who is a student or who is parenting / mentoring a student. These young people are learning some life lessons at a very early age in terms of flexibility, in terms of developing a plan B or even a plan C. They are going to learn a lot by how we respond to this situation in the now. And I think they are going to take some of these lessons. This is a worldwide singular event that I believe, as a marketer, is truly going to impact the demographics, especially of Gen Z, which I have a Gen Zer, but the generation just past them. This has been a very different set of circumstances that I do think is going to impact that. And so make sure that you're being a good role model for them, but also take time to learn from them. Because I know I'm learning lessons every day from my daughter, who is downstairs going to college instead of 8 hours away going to college. And I think they are teaching us a lot. And the thing that I will leave you with, the one thing that she has taught me already is the value of routine. Everything that we're doing is so different that if you can find just that little element of routine to keep in your day, it allows you to stay focused on just today. We'll worry about tomorrow, plan now, but live today, try to do that routine, and remember that we're all students right now, and we really need to be focused on those students who really are experiencing school and life lessons in such a different way. So that's my shout out and my positive thought and dedication.
Thanks for sharing. Tremendous.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Josh, it's all
yeah, glad. All right. Well, thank you guys. Thank you everybody for staying on. We were a little bit over. We are going to carry on the conversation. Raymond, we're not forgetting you. I see a question there for Vic. Vic, if we can bring this conversation online, we'll answer Raymond's question and any others you guys would like to submit on the Facebook page. So, and also look there for any other information and updated reports coming out from Vic, from Britoni, and anybody else who wants to post. So thank you guys again. Have a great week out there. I'm going to do one hip hip because I can't hear you. We will see you next week. Thank you, everybody. Stay safe. Stay low. Masks on. See you guys. Hip hip.
Hip, hip, hooray.
Hooray!
See you guys.
Bye for now.